So now you're paying attention. What would be the benefit of this? Chances are, once you start paying attention, life becomes more painful than pleasurable. So why would you want to do this? Well, ignorance never solves any problem. If you have a dirty house, like you got dishes all over the sink, you got food on the ground, you got cockroaches and all sorts of other pests in your house, would ignoring the house solve any of the mess? But this is what most people do. They ignore the emotional pain and suffering that they're dealing with. They ignore any of the problems that are going on inside. And then they expect, by ignoring and getting better at ignoring, that somehow life will become a pleasurable adventure. The only way that you can feel the true pleasure and joy of life is if you are able to feel. You have to be able to feel in order to enjoy, in order to have pleasure, in order to have this elusive thing called happiness. But what many people try to do, and myself included, they try to distract themselves from any type of feeling, because what they've felt so far has been some sort of pain or misery. They've felt stress from work. They've felt pressure to achieve. They've felt emotional grief and sorrow over the loss of a loved one. And once that happens, the solution that the mind comes up with is to never feel again. Then from that point on, all of our ideas, beliefs, strategies come from that. Our strategies come from a place of, how do we not feel again? How can we constantly numb ourselves to the world, whether it's through action, whether it's through overwhelming excitement in the mind, not joy in the heart, but just like the gambler addiction type of story, the achievement. I will be happy when. And the thought, the hope of that happiness one day coming to us is what keeps us going on a day-to-day basis. Now, that game can continue for a long time until you come to the conclusion that no matter what goal I've accomplished, no matter what achievement has come to me, there is something missing. Many a spiritual master or saint or meditation enthusiast has come to the realization that there's something missing. What is that? What is it that could be missing? After all, you're in every single moment of your life. This experience of you is there, so what's missing? The truth is, nothing's missing. Nothing's missing at all. It's just that you've gotten so good at ignoring reality, ignoring what you feel. Now, this may seem incredibly frustrating because you're like, Jason, I'm feeling now, but I feel like shit. So this isn't very helpful. And I would say to you, yeah, you're right. It's really frustrating at times. But what happens when you're honest about what is there, what you feel, whether it's just subtle things like boredom or subtle irritation or disappointment? When you actually bring your awareness, turn your attention to that feeling, instead of distracting yourself with it, instead of running after, some game like, I'm going to ignore this boredom I have, I'm going to go do something about it. I've got to get rid of this right away. Oh my God. Or I have some depression. Okay, I have to go and have a few drinks and be around a party to distract myself from this emotion inside. When you are honest about yourself and what's in there, and you come to the conclusion that even if you go to the party, after the party's done, this feeling will still be there after you're done the partying. When you are honest about that negative feeling, whatever it might be, the type of suffering you have, it starts to dissolve. Now, this process isn't instantaneous, but if you whittle away at it, one spiritual master talked about digging to the center of the earth with a spoon. It's a lot like this. when you are honest and you allow yourself to feel, then slowly but surely, little bit by little bit, will start to go away, start to join you at the source of who you are and become divinized. I don't even know if that's a word, but there is a divine energy that blends with it, which is who you are. Who you are is divine. And that suffering will become purified into something else. And that something else is what you're craving. That experience of life that goes beyond rules, that goes beyond understanding, that goes beyond dogma. It's just there. It has nothing to do with right or wrong. It just has to do with who you are. That experience is what you're craving. So there are many techniques to whittle away at your suffering. That's all there are, is techniques. Anybody that says you must do it this way or that way is not telling you the truth, because there are a lot of different ways. The way that I'm teaching you is a way that worked for me. It doesn't mean that it is the only way. So, as we are individuals on this path, we have identities that are different. We all come from the same source. But there may be languages or information or techniques that speak to you more now. And one of my teachers would have called this the inner guru. You have an inner guru that speaks to you, that leads you home, that teaches you and guides you to the next step in your spiritual process. So the techniques that I use are mind yoga, the jnana yoga, mantra. I use mantra extensively. That's the mainstay of my practice. Different types of mantra. Because I find that I can dissolve some of the selfish needs of my ego at the same time as digging my way home. Meditation is definitely helpful in this path because it helps give you distance from some of your suffering. And so often we need that distance in order to continue. I mean, this is not a path of self-flagellation. You're not doing this because you're supposed to suffer and you deserve it. You don't deserve any of that. You deserve to be happy. That's it. And there are just ways to harness and harvest more of this happiness so that you can spread it to other people. There is also pranayama, which is a breathing technique. Now, they say the breath and the mind are linked. When you learn the true nature of breath, you will learn the true nature of the mind. And then the mind can no longer enslave you to its idealisms that have nothing to do with joy. So these are some of the techniques I use. These are not all the techniques. There are other techniques as well. There are other spiritual practices and exercises. And ultimately, allow yourself to explore them and see which one resonates with you. As you move along in applying these exercises and practices, at first you will find an incredible amount of suffering, or maybe just a little bit. But on the other end of that suffering, when you bring yourself to that, when you apply the exercise, which naturally does this for you, you'll have experiences of overwhelming joy, of overwhelming happiness, of love, of peace. Experiences that are not dependent on any condition on the outside whatsoever. You can be in the middle of a battle, in some cases, and have overwhelming bliss overtake you. This is your true nature. And it will become so obvious to you, so obvious, that the outside circumstances are not responsible for your inner experience. So as I've said before, apply some of my techniques if you feel drawn to do that. I can only share with you the experiences that I've had and how incredibly helpful they've been for me and for some of the people around me. All right, so thanks for listening and good luck.